He's looking real weak. All he's got to do is either not care or care less than he already does. Because half the reason it happens is because he cares too much. He cares way too fucking much. Just leave. Just go. Just stop. You can do anything else other than what you're doing. But don't pretend and say, oh my god, I don't know what to do. Oh my god, it's so hard. It's so hard. I don't understand. It's so hard. It's so hard for me to do my job. Every time I say things on the internet, people just come and attack me for no reason. You said that you love to fuck kids. But what do you mean they're just so small and supple? And I'm going to cut that joke there. Although, it's funny that I bring that up, because guess who's back again? Guess who's back? Back again. Guess who's back? Don't tell your friends. Bryan's back. 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 Bryan the Fox bitch. Are you prepared, chat? Are you ready? Are you ready to get jump scared by the opinions of a clearly delusional man? I hope you are, because you're not getting a rubber. You finna catch AIDS, boys! You finna catch AIDS. And I'm not sorry. The show tune fanfare is really getting old with this guy.
This upcoming everybody, I am Bryan Mullins the Fox, ready to make this upcoming summer a blast before it happens, with a third ever long-form commentary video. This time, it's about why religion has always been problematic and why atheism is better. Let's get into the chapter formatting as usual. Chapter 1, Introduction, which is of course the one we're in right now. Chapter 2, Atheism came long before religion. Chapter 3, Atheism never had a common belief system, just like religion. Chapter 4, Atheism is not a religion. Chapter 5, Christian extremism is a problem. Chapter 6, why religion has always been problematic. Chapter 7, Atheism versus agnosticism. Chapter 8, me shitting on my Christian childhood. Chapter 9, shaming from peers after becoming atheist. Chapter 10,
I like how he needs a whole chapter to shit on his childhood. We know you shitting your childhood, baby boy. We've heard your content before. What is this? Fucking furries! That's what it is.
How and why I became an atheist. Chapter 11, rant segment. And finally, Chapter 12, conclusion/finale. You may be asking yourself, gee, Bryan, is it really true that atheism has always existed before religion came along and fucked it all up? And the simple answer is yes. There is a study that suggests that religion was never the default when it comes to what and how humans believed is right and wrong, or what they even worshipped. Here's an article not only suggesting such, but we'll read it after I put the history of humans into perspective when it comes to the...
Bryan, you do understand that considering Neanderthals would have to have created some form of religion after then forming the ability of speech, they could have been praising pig shit as much as they could have been praising the giant ball of flame in the sky. That don't mean shit. I don't want to see a study that suggests something, because it's a study that suggests something. And I'm pretty sure if I was to show that data heuristic panel to Aiden, she'd have a fucking conniption fit and she'd be right next to me screaming fucking furries.
Earliest religions that came along after atheism was diverse enough to be the default non-religion, if you will, when it comes to a lack of a singular belief system or organized religion altogether. According to an article written and published on the University of Cambridge website known as Disbelieve It or Not, Ancient History suggests that atheism is as natural to humans as religion. On February 16th, 2016, people in the ancient world did not always believe in the gods. A new study suggests, casting doubt on the idea that religious belief was a default setting for humans. Despite being written out of large parts of history, atheists thrived in the polytheistic societies of the ancient world, raising considerable doubts about whether humans really are wired for religion, a study suggests.
Bryan, our ancestors broke in other primates' heads with the broken femur bones, tied on to sharpened stones, held in place by sinew and twine, left to dry in the sun to get a tight fit, crafted with obsidian broken from the volcanic ash rock that permeated the majority of the frozen tundras if they were not being snown over by a volcano, and where there was volcano drought, moving from place to place on foot, hunting woolly mammoths and other creatures because we had sprint endurance. No shit, they did not always believe in the gods. They were mostly working off fucking instinct and off the fear response of things they remembered happening. What is this supposed to do? Sweetie, what is this supposed to do? I understand you got a big atheist, but don't you worry, we won't let you get there. What the fuck does that mean?
claim is the central proposition of a new book by Tim Whitmarsh, professor of Greek culture and a fellow of St. John's College, University of Cambridge. In it, he suggests that atheism, which is typically seen as a modern phenomenon, was not just common in ancient Greece and pre-Christian Rome, but probably flourished more in those societies than in most civilizations since. As a result...
Chat. You're gonna want to pause a lot. He says this dumb shit a lot. I know. I know this would sound dumb on your part, but please indulge my question so I can battle this. Is this a satire? This is not a satire, Bolster. He is dead ass serious. He is dead ass serious. You think this is bad? You should hear about his conspiracy theory of the turkey game. He's claiming that you can be against the existence of a god when there is no religion yet. What's a king to a god? What's a god to a non-believer who don't believe anything at all? Does he just hear that in his head non-stop? Is that just what plays in Bryan's head all the time? He just hears Kanye West pre-Adidas. I say again, chat. Fucking furries! Don't blame me, chat. Blame Horror. Make sure to tell Horror, thank you. Thank you for my brain damage. Make sure to say thank you, chat. Thank you. Thank you, Horror. To my mod. Thank you to my mod. It gets harder. Trust me, boys. It gets worse. If you haven't watched Bryan's content, it gets worse.
The study challenges two assumptions that prop up current debates between atheists and believers. Firstly, the idea that atheism is a modern point of view, and second, the idea of religious universalism, that humans are naturally predisposed or wired to believe in gods. The book entitled Battling the Gods was launched in Cambridge on Tuesday, February 16th, 2016. We tend to see atheism as an idea that has only recently emerged in secular Western societies, Whitmarsh said. The rhetoric used to describe it is hypermodern. In fact, early societies were far more capable than many since of containing atheism within the spectrum of what they considered normal. Most of the later Roman Empire's ideological energy was expended fighting supposedly heretical beliefs, often other forms of Christianity. In a decree of 380, Emperor Theodosius I even drew a distinction between Catholics and everyone else, whom he classed as dementes vesinoque, demented lunatics. Such rulings left no room for disbelief. Whitmarsh stresses that his study is not designed to prove or disprove the truth of atheism itself. On the book's first page, however, he adds, I do, however, have a strong conviction that has hardened in the course of researching and writing this book. The cultural and religious pluralism and free debates are indispensable to the good life. Of the 300,000+ years that anatomically modern humans have been around, the first signs of religion came to be during the Upper Paleolithic period. By the way, the Paleolithic period lasted all the way up to 10,000 BCE. And even then, when it began to show signs of organized religion, most of them were atheistic in nature for a while.
Agnostic. Not atheistic. Agnostic. When a baby is not baptized and they go all the way up into adulthood without having been baptized and thus religiously jumped into a religious community, they are not atheists. They are agnostics. You keep using that word, Bryan. An atheist is someone who does not believe in the existence of a god or gods, defined in different ways, including the broadest being an absence of belief, a rejection of the belief of that deities exist, or that there are no deities. A person who believes that nothing is known or can be known in the existence or nature of God, or anything beyond a material phenomena, a person who claims neither faith nor disbelief in God, relating to agnostics or agnosticism. In other words, skeptic, doubter, questioner, challenger, scoffer, cynical. In other words, they cannot be against something that they don't know exists. Now, you could say that they're completely agnostically ignorant in the sense that they have an unconscious ignorance of religion to the point that they have to take a default agnostic position. But before religion was formed, they were not atheist. They were agnostic. In order for them to be atheists, they have to reject religion in its whole summary. Meaning, I don't believe in no gods at all. Not God. What's God? Is that like the shit fairy that my grandma used to pray to when she was 11? You know, The Venn diagram of furries and pseudo-intellectuals seems to almost always be an almost 98% complete circle. You know what I'm saying? Just look at his PNG. Its smug aura from its inconsequentiality. It mocks us, Chet.
Only for not collectively celebrating a single deity until religions like Christianity came along. And for that, you didn't even have to be entirely atheist to then not be religious, and vice versa. And with that article being read and all this shit being said, let's move on to chapter 3. And just like I teased at for a bit in the last chapter, atheism never...
He's still using alternate PNGs for himself. Horror, I don't have the picture of this guy on hand. I don't want to go looking through CCM1 to go find it. But those of you who don't know what Bryan Mullins the Fox looks like, just imagine the whitest fat white kid that you know, who retains being fat into his adult years. He uses a PNG to represent himself. I wouldn't say it's pathetic, but I would say it's emblematic of a furry.
Never really had a common belief system and does not have one today. I don't even have a common held belief system as an atheist with other atheists that have different ones than mine.
That was a sentence. Say that again, please.
Does not have one today. I don't even have a common held belief system as an atheist with other atheists that have different ones than mine.
I don't have a common held belief system with atheists versus the atheists that are different than mine. I believe that lime cherry is the best Jello, and they think that orange cherry grape is the best Jello. I don't even have any overlap with these people. Well, you see, that's just another way of you saying I'm the special snowflake. I'm the best snowflake in the bunch. You know why? Because I don't believe in anything. I don't believe in anything at all outside of things that can be scientifically and factually proven. These people still believe in things that can be proven by just understanding them to be true. I don't believe things unless I physically experience them myself. For example, maturity, never experienced it, so it's not real. Unironically, that's what he just fucking said to us, chat. Unironically, that's what he just said to us. I don't believe in things, and I have an even smaller system of belief of things that I believe in compared to other atheists. Why can't y'all motherfuckers speak like normal human beings? Why? Why?
This one won't be too long, so by chapter 6, I'll be going into such great detail as to how and why religion has always been problematic. It's gonna get juicier and juicier the longer you watch. And
I don't think it is, because I don't think it is right now!
Juicy kind you're thinking of. Yeah, you fellow viewer, get your fucking mind out of the gutter. I'm not your dad bod, nor am I a porn star either. Let's get back on track.
I ain't thinking about you sexually. No one's thinking about you sexually. Chad, is you thinking about him sexually? If you are, you disgusting.
For now, let's just get this out of the way. Unlike every other religion that has ever fucking existed, atheism, for as long as it lasted before, never had a belief system, much less a common one at all. In every
atheism is not a religion. It is not applicable. In a checkbox list of religions, from Zoroastrianism to Kabbalah, all the way at the end, atheism and agnosticism are two boxes where it says write in the blank, and if not any of the above, check which apply. It is the not applicable category. It is not a religion in the sheer fact that it does not have a religion. Bryan, what you just said is that you're not even agnostic, and you're not even atheist, and you're not even an atheist as, like, an agnostic atheist. You just said that you're a scientist. You believe in scientism. Which, obviously, that's true based on how you behave. You're so quick to reference a study. But atheism is not a religion. Scientism very much is a religion. It's the religion of I'm smarter than you. I don't think you're smarter than me, Bryan. I don't think you're smarter than anybody in my chat. I don't think you're smarter than the most inept person in my chat. And granted, I have some pretty intelligent people here. Even someone's gonna have to feel the odd one out here in the situation. Even on his worst day, I don't think Harvey is as stupid as Bryan Mullins the Fox has probably been for the last 15 years of his life. Dead ass. Dead ass. Dead fucking ass. Scientism. Hashtag TM Tradesnook.
Every human being. Just because atheism existed long before the first signs of a religion that's commonly held and believed, where they worship a single or even set of deities, does not mean or imply that religions can't be atheistic. There are religions that don't have a central deity, or where they don't worship a god at all, and are
Yeah, okay, but they worship a concept. The concept is the god. Even if they don't call it the god, if I was to create a religion, let's pull something randomly out of fandoms that I've watched. If I were to go into the Kamen Rider mythos, and I pull out of this world history of Kamen Rider Double, and I explain that even though there isn't actually a god in the sense of Gaia, Gaia's memory is the extension of the power that comes from nature that can be ascribed to a letter of any alphabet, but it just so happens to be the use of the American English alphabet, so 26 letters, and each letter can have ascribed to it a word of power. A fucking USB memory drive that has the almighty memory of something like abstract, apple, amonokais. And from A to Z, Gaia's memory infuses the USB drive with the primordial concept of that word. If I was to get a USB drive that said, butt slap, and I was to backhand you with the back of my hand, would you say that my hand was a god when it slapped you across the face? Maybe. But the religion doesn't have a god. No, it doesn't. But here's the hand of God to tell you where your place is. And keep a strong, Lord, so that this fairy may learn our bottom's place.
technically counted as atheistic in nature, just not completely and totally atheist. But they do worship something like a symbol, be it a cross, a swastika, and other religious symbols. Christianity...
Okay, so you knew exactly what the fuck I was saying, so why the fuck did you just say that dumb shit? It's because he's a dumb furry. He's a dumb intellectual furry, Carl. That's the reason why he's so retarded.
Of a religion that's commonly held and believed where they worship a single or even set of deities does not mean or imply that religions can't be atheistic. There are religions that don't have a central deity or where they don't worship a god at all and are technically counted as atheistic in nature, just not completely and totally atheist. But they do worship something like a symbol, be it a cross.
Okay, so what you just said was actually even worse than what I thought you said. If they believe in a concept of something that is abstract that has not been proven to be real, then that is the same thing as God, even in the absence of a capital letter named God. Even if I start a cult, it is a form of a religion. It is not a formed, proper organization of a religion. It is just an upstart, which is how all religions are founded, until they exist for long enough, with a long enough organization, a long enough member base, that it can then be said that it is the dominant religion of an area. If I was to start a cult, and that cult believed in big titties, thick thighs, and an increasing desire for unsurmountable, unquestionable death, would you be wandering into Carl's wastelands of big titties, size, and more?
For the titties in the ass, absolutely.
But in general, with a 100, if not 99.8% chance that it might end in your death? That's a 0.002% chance for titties, boys! Probably not! And yet, when I pull out the Holy Bible and I throw it at your head, and I tell you commit yourself to Tharja's thighs with the best hips in the business, or I'm taking your head, or you're gonna say to me, well, you see, you don't actually praise a god, so you're not really a religion. Technically, we are 5 minutes in. We're 6 minutes or 37 minutes in. He's so fun to have at parties, boys. He's so fun to have at parties, I'm telling you. It's only been 6 minutes. It's only been 6 minutes and it's already felt like it's been 30. And the video's 35 minutes. And of course, there's the sequel behind it, Chad.
A swastika and other religious symbols. Christianity was never the first religion.
Swastika, which is to say, the Ura and Uramanji, as related to Buddhism, is not necessarily a religious symbol. It is more of a philosophy symbol. It is only considered a religious symbol in the context that it is used prophetically throughout the majority of the peace-based religions. Shintoism, Buddhism, Sikhism, all of the religions that came about as an answer to the extreme levels of revolt and violence that were had to liberate the countries which religiously prayed and practiced them, outside of things like Confucianism. All of these things were not necessarily a religion. They were a text first, which is to say, if you want to put this more in the Western context, Socrates, Pythagoras, and the rest of the Roman and Greek scholars would have created a religion if they wanted to use their prophetic Socratic ideas and musings from debate as well as from writings as a script, if they were so willing to do so. That is technically where that comes from, because we needed a concept to make sense of an idea. That is where it comes from, and that's why the symbol is used as such. The only way that you could say that it is a religious symbol is if you're willing to then say the Iron Cross, and more importantly, the National Socialist 1945 perversion of the Uramanji, tilted 45 degrees on its side, the swastika, actually known in the German word Hakenkreuz, is a religious symbol. Obviously, it is not. It's a political symbol. The Hakenkreuz is not a religious symbol, unless you were to tie in the idea of how extremely deep into occultism the Nazis were. Yet the National Socialists were not a religious group. They wanted to be as powerful as one. You see what I did there? Bryan! Bryan, mix up your words, Bryan! Bryan, you failed at the English language, Bryan! Bryan, please! Use words correctly!
Religion to bear the cross. The cross goes all the way back to the Upper Paleolithic age. Hitler, the Nazis, never owned or could ever claim the swastika as their own, and therefore original in the 30s and 40s. Just like Christ was never the first to represent the cross he supposedly died on when he didn't. To idolize him is to go against what the scripture actually would have said had the Bible not have been such an inconsistent, self-contradictory mess, comprising of a bunch of stories and sayings by a bunch of goat herders, lamb fisters, sheep coidlers, and even horse boinkers, if you know what I mean.
Damn, Carl, how did you predict that he was going there? I did not watch this ahead of time. He's just that fucking stupid. He's just that fucking stupid and that hateful. The cat's knocked over the shovel. He's that predictable. He's that predictable. I know exactly where he's going. I know his arguments before he says them, because it's that fucking obvious.
And no, I'm not talking about Vosh, where one scripture copies and pastes from another.
Ha ha! Even the fucking idiot is making fun of Vosh. Ha!
Bible not have been such an inconsistent, self-contradictory mess, comprising of a bunch of stories and sayings by a bunch of goat herders, lamb fisters, sheep coidlers, and even horse boinkers, if you know what I mean. And no, I'm not talking about Vosh, where one scripture copies and pastes from another scripture and is generic as fuck, among many other complaints I have with the Bible. Sure, there may be a disagreement with one atheist and another in ancient times, but before religion came along, outside of a spat here and there wasn't just this huge genocide just because one atheist or another disagreed with you, or because one other Paleolithic atheist couldn't point another Paleolithic atheist's goat, sheep, or even horse. That's okay. It's irrelevant because we don't do that, and we never did that before religions came along, so at least they would know before us. That's—
Oh, I'm sorry, did you just say bestiality didn't exist before religions? The only reason bestiality exists is because of Is that what you just said? Let's hear that again, chat. Let's hear that again.
Or another disagree with you, or because one other Paleolithic atheist couldn't point another Paleolithic atheist's goat, sheep, or even horse. That's okay. It's irrelevant because we don't do that, and we never did that before religions came along, so at least they would know before us. That's the beautiful thing about knowing that just being atheistic doesn't make you immune to make and or fall for the same mistakes as the religious do unironically. In a very—
without a hint of irony.
similar way a good portion of atheists such as T.J. Kirk and the like with COVID, but that's besides the point. All in all, atheism never had a common belief system amongst all, which ties in perfectly with the next chapter. And
that's cool. But the amazing atheist, T.J. Kirk, for all his fucking lambastings, he's not atheistic. He is a scientist. He believes in scientism. How do I know? Because he became an authoritarian, and he immediately gave up any position of being a skeptic by throwing in his lot with the people who had the power. Who has the power? Scientism. Scientism has the power. Even while he tries to reference the name of people, he just flabbergasts you with how ridiculous what he's saying gets. It's really bad. It's really, really bad.
Since the atheists don't have a singular and common belief system, atheism is not and never has been a religion, nor will it ever be. The irony...
Because atheists don't have concrete whole doctrines, a standard, and a dogma, then that means that they are not a religion. Well, unfortunately, again, that is not true, and that would not be made true, especially if I can identify 100 atheists, and I can identify things that they hold as a community quality between themselves that defines atheism. If I can define you within at least 3 particular things that you believe in alongside the other 99 atheists, it can classify as a pseudo-religion, if not a religion in right and totality. Because the majority of you love to talk about facts, you love to talk about history, and you love to insult people based on these things that cannot be proven to the material world, it means that I can say you are a group of people that believe in things that can be proven through what can be directly experienced. And you would reject any kind of type of mind-altering drug that would deny you the ability to experience said material world. But you see, it's weird because even though that is something that be concurrent, chat, raise your hand if you know a person who claims to be atheist and yet smokes religiously, whether it be recreational grass or not. Any kind of vice. It could be any kind of vice, even video games. Raise your hand if you know one, because I know I have one. He's saying before religions existed. Is that saying that no religious beliefs didn't exist before organized religions? What about all the tribal and pagan beliefs that existed everywhere else? That doesn't matter, because you see, before religions existed, we didn't have things like bestiality. See, that's the most... You see, you're asking a good question, Galaxy. But the problem is that his answer to that is yes. Religion didn't exist before the supposed goat boinkers, his words, goat boinkers, told a story that was then told a story about another goat boinker who then boinked his goat, who boinked his wife, who boinked his kids. All of it. All of it didn't exist. It's like the Big Bang. All of existence before that was a religious black hole that had nothing before the Big Bang. And then the religious Big Bang happened and like a money shot. So many questions. So many questions could be asked, chat. So many of them.
Behind that is that Paleolithic atheism existed, such as atheistic religions, before Christianity became a thing. You didn't even have to worship a god to be religious, and when Christianity came along, it proved that sweet irony. They worshipped gods and atheistic religions didn't. I try not to make these chapters redundantly short, but there's not a whole lot to cover in this long-form commentary video. I can only make it so long that it needs no further explanation.
Baby boy, you the one who made a commercial. If it's superfluous, why did you put it there?
A good portion of atheists are more than likely progressive, left-wing, and some others are either libertarian or even right-wing. They share...
Okay, so say that again, and let's go through why that's wrong.
Needs no further explanation. A good portion of atheists are more than likely progressive, left-wing, and some others are either libertarian or even right-wing. They share...
If they are atheists, well, it's possible for them to have a political spectrum that tilts to the right. You cannot call them right-wing. Because if they are right-wing, they are some denomination of Catholic, Protestant, Catholic, or Christian. Because unfortunately, for most people who may be confused, Catholicism is not Christianity. If you want to get a knockoff, Judeo-Christian. We can now cover Islam, we can now cover proper forms of Judaism. The word was not coming to me for a second. We can cover Islam, we can cover Judaism, and now we can cover all the denominations of Catholicism, Christianity, Protestantism, etc., and Orthodoxy. If I were to say someone is right-wing, they'd have to believe in some type of religion, because the inherent nature of the 13 states, as they were, based on the side of the south of the Southern Winn-Dixie line, they believed in religion, Bryan. They were Catholic, Bryan. The slave owners were Catholic, Bryan. They were Christian or Catholic, Bryan. How do I know that? Because the slaves were given their religion. And it was with that religion that the slaves were able to hold on for 150 years before they were able to get their fucking civil rights. While the women were being bred by Matumbo inside the breeding cabins, while Matumbo was knocking up women left to right to make more slaves for Mr. Collins. Somebody who probably would have been your old great-granddaddy and great-grandmammy if your great-grandmammy wasn't running one of them slaves through the ringer, getting her furry shit on. The 69 God that was your great-granddaddy's daddy was putting his diddly in all them slaves, and the only thing that made them feel better was Jesus. Bryan, do you not understand geopolitical politics, Bryan? Why are you talking about it, Bryan? Bryan! Think before you speak, Bryan. That's the right hand of the argument. Let's address the other half of that argument.
Needs no further explanation. A good portion of atheists are more than likely progressive left-wing, and some others are either...
Progressive left-wing people. Chat, yes or no question. Do most progressive left-wing people have religion? Are they religious? Yes or no? He really does hate the Abrahamic religions. He really does. It's not even it sounds. He hates them. But granted, he probably doesn't know enough about the other religions to hate them. So he just focuses on the one he knows that he can be able to wash back with. But yes or no question, chat. Do progressive left-wing individuals have religion? Yes or no? What? Want to say no. My mom's Catholic and reads the Washington Post. I'd say yes. Two yeses, two yeses, two no's. Keep in mind, I'm speaking in generalities here. The broadest generalities I can. The general answer is realistically no. If we're saying, do they believe in a religion? And do they practice it willfully with their heart? They get up, they go to whatever form of religion and practice they go to. Do they have one? If they're not Islamic, the answer is no. And or yes. Because if they have a religion, it is intersectionality. It is the progressive stack. Of those people who have a religion of the progressive stack, if they believe in some type of Catholicism, Judaism, or Christianity, they believe in a very backwards form of it. In other words, they are not fundamentalists. They are modernists. By far. By leagues, by far. More of them believe in scientism, ironically more of them believe in Scientology, than they believe in Judeo-Christianity. If it is an Abrahamic religion, they do not like it, because they do not like God. Because they are terrified of people like the Westboro Baptist Church. And they classify every person who is religious as a Westboro Baptist Church follower. But the majority of them at whole, they are not. The majority of them are agnostic or outright devoutly atheistic because they live a hedonist lifestyle. So, what he just said, on both sides of the argument, in my opinion, feel free to disagree with me if you wish. The left, no. The right, hell no. Which leads me to the question, Bryan, why did you say that dumbass shit? Because he doesn't like him. That's it. That's really the only reason why. I clicked too far forward.
Original in the 30s and 40s, just like Christ was never the first to represent the cross he supposedly died on. comprising atheistic religions didn't. I try not to make these chapters redundantly short or tiringly old non-arguments that no atheist worth their salt and experience on the internet. This needs no further explanation. A good portion of atheists are more than likely progressive, left-wing, and some others are either libertarian or even right-wing. They share different opinions, beliefs, and dish out different takes than one another. Christianity, despite all of its denominations, share a commonly held belief and the symbol they never could claim as their own originally. Christian fundies and religious reactionaries pull the whole atheism is a religion thing among a whole plethora of really bad and tiringly old non-arguments that no atheist worth their salt and experience on the internet should ever waste their time addressing and debunking, because it's been debunked and addressed countless times over. And these people who deny the theory of evolution and how it explains how humans have evolved without making an entire species of apes extinct also explains their idiocy. Scientists and people who were religious or currently are religious to this day put decades of effort into proving and readjusting the theory of evolution to explain and account for any discrepancy or error that may or may not get in their way later on. Countless times, in fact, it is tested over and over and over again. The trust the science crowd, however, abuse the shit out of that concept of scientific research and science altogether. For example, many of these trust the science NPCs and moral busybodies believed that people who believed that the virus originated from a lab in Wuhan, China were a bunch of kooky conspiracy theorists, and years later, they admit that the people who believed the lab leak theory were right all along. Sure, they may be off with other things outside of the lab leak theory. When atheists abuse the shit out of their platform by poisoning the well when it comes to entertaining an opposing worldview, much less entertaining an opposing theory, especially the trust the science crowd of Karens, Kens, and Cunts, it's indicative of the fact that most times atheists act no better than their opponents in times like that. Many of them apologize later on, and fewer of these people are on the same bandwagon against these so-called kooky conspiracy theorists. But all in all, it never means that atheism was, is, or will be a religion anytime soon. Let's move on to chapter 5. While there isn't such...
So, Bryan just demonstrated that, yes, he understands what scientism is. Yes, he hates scientism as well. But no, he believes he's the better of all of them. He's the best atheist. Those other atheists, they're fucking losers. They pale in comparison to what Bryan understands and knows to be the truth. Now, I already know this because I've seen his content already and experienced his stupidity. But does that not exhaust you, chat? Does that not exhaust you and make you tired? Because I gotta tell you, that's a lot of attention. It is wild that he believes that much about himself. And he believes that he is that right all the time. It's like the inverse of normal religion. I am right and all the time. Like, I'm right all the time, and all the time, I am right. That's Bryan Mullins' thought. Like, it is inherently... yes, Bolster, I agree with you. It is inherently the nature and the mindset of all of those previous communists that believe that they have the best interpretation of religion. It is the idea of all socialists and communists that believe they have the best interpretation of history, and what they say is the most concrete and honest and whole one. Therefore, they should be trusted with rewriting history. If you had amnesia, and you trusted Bryan Mullins the Fox to tell you about the truth of the world, he would be filling your head with so much fucking honky bullshit and lies that I would have to ask you if you could trust being told the reason why the sky is blue. Because more than likely, he would have told you the sky is blue, but he would have come up with some kind of justification in his viewpoint that would have been nowhere even close to the scientific method of discovering why the sky is blue. The Socratic method, scientific method, PEMDAS, Pythagorean theorem, all the shit. It's emblematic of this guy's content. He is so smug. He is so wrong and so smug.
Such a thing as atheist extremism, you cannot say the same when it comes to Christian extremism. It goes by many names: dominionism, evangelism, and just extreme Christians who are more than likely MAGA, or the parents of pedophilic grapers. The type of
more than likely MAGA, or the parents of pedophilic grapers. Why? I wonder who taught you that word.
Christian that most people should stay the hell away from. These extremists typically are on the far right on the political spectrum. They tend to go off on anti-gay, anti-Jew, and even anti-atheist rants if they get triggered enough and resort to sending death threats and go out of their way to silence their opposition, even when...
Yeah, very, very clearly, very surely, Mr. I have absolutely no problems. By the way, I have a titled rant section here in my chapters, right before the conclusion of my video. But them fucking chuds over there...
They're being mostly silenced themselves, just as much, if not more, than the other extremists on the far left, which begs the question of why should I care if they're around? There are so many answers to that question alone. Number one, if you're unfortunate enough to live in a state, county, or even town full of them, then you may not want to show any minute amount of signs that you're an atheist, or at least that you don't believe in a God that they believe in, because they will literally do anything and everything they can do to either run you out of town, state, or even out of the country, or come up with a plan to kill or hurt you.
Not just run you out of the Sunset Town, but run you out of life! Now that's hateful. I'm not hateful, though. Except for those fucking evangelists.
spouse and even children. Number 2, they are the most likely people to hijack a debate or argument by peppering ad homs here and there and make the experience a living hell. 3, you should...
What have you been doing for the majority of this runtime? For 13 minutes and 18 seconds. Bryan Mullins the Fox.
care because if nobody stands up to fight the extremism on both sides more often on one side than the other and vice...
No. My personal nemesis is somebody who is a fucking tourist who's very confident about being long and round to the point that they believe that they have the right to mute what other people have to say. Granted, he'd be amongst this bunch, but he is nowhere near my nemesis. He's too stupid. He's much too stupid.
Versa, some other time, they will be the only thing that's prevalent in US politics, and it'll be all we talk about more often than the real issues that already plague us as a species as is. Number 4, you don't get to be a total hypocrite and turn the other way just because you're a right-wing atheist and would see all hell break loose in the guise of being entertained, or entertaining to some extent, because the moment you question some narrative they hold dear, the moment you show any sign of skepticism at all in front of these people, the same shit will happen to you. Number 5, it would more than likely be the type of civil war that Tim Pool kept on fantasizing about times 100, and it will be hilarious that he himself won't be there when it happens. And finally, number 6, this
well, he has a compound and he has guns, so if they try to break into his compound, he would shoot them. That's the first likely thing. I'm not advocating violence, by the way. I'm just telling you what would happen through the logic of your own argument. But more importantly, repeat that last section for us again, baby boy.
And would see all hell break loose in the guise of being entertained, or entertaining to some extent, because the moment you question some narrative they hold dear, the moment you show any sign of skepticism at all in front of these people, the same shit will happen to you. Number 5, it would more than likely be the type of civil war that Tim Pool kept on fantasizing.
So, what do you think it is when people try to destroy and cause life ruination to people because of something said stupidly on Twitter? Or in social media in general? And it's not deserved as an appropriate retributive response for their actions. What do you think happens? What do you think is supposed to happen? Because cancel culture already happens. It already exists, Bryan. It doesn't even need to have the airs of religion. It just needs to have politics. The absence of politics for individuals like you is all that it takes to try and destroy somebody. That's why all the celebrities are terrified and always have to say a bunch of bullshit to get you to buy their product. Because they don't want to scare you by not proselytizing themselves before you. You yourselves are a type of God.
About times 100, and it will be hilarious that he himself won't be there when it happens. And finally, number 6, this reason will be explained in chapter 6. I just have to say it now, it's because religion has always been problematic. The same is true when it comes to religious books that contradict each other as much as they contradict themselves. 2, religiously and tribalistically motivated genocides throughout many millennia. I'll give you a few examples. A, all the Christian crusades that were brought on initially by Catholic Europeans. B, the Holocaust, where Hitler...
As a response to the Ottomans crushing through the region. It's okay, you can be retarded about the First and Second Crusades.
The Nazis decided to try and wipe out all Germanic Jews, homosexuals, gypsies, the disabled, and other undesirables out of religious, conspiratorial, schizophrenic, and political conviction. 6 million Jews died amongst the homosexuals, gypsies, the disabled, and others that did too, which makes the Holocaust death toll as large as it was then. And finally, C, the roast game, 1998 to 2016, when families in America and Canada...
Oh, well, see, I don't even have to tell you, you have to look into it. He's about to tell you about it. Pay attention real quick to the next thing he's about to say, Bolster. This is going to be crazy for you. It's going to be crazy for you. This is probably the biggest... Keep in mind, the third thing he's saying is a conspiracy theory. Everything else he just said is not necessarily a conspiracy theory, to the extreme of not a conspiracy theory in the case of the Holocaust. I need to make sure that is credible so that when somebody tries to clip this disingenuously, they no longer have the ability to make a proper clip. Let's listen to what he says.
Holocaust death toll as large as it was then. And finally, C, the roast game, 1998 to 2016, when families in America and Canada, instead of eating hams and turkeys as the centerpiece of Christmas dinner, substituted that with the butt meat of children they slaughtered for not believing in Christmas, after the Jim Henson Company and Hallmark Entertainment bought 45% of a religious yet predominantly Christian network known as the Odyssey Channel. Meaning that since these parents thought and believed that the Muppets are satanic, they were spooked that it was announced that it would be on that channel for the spring of 1999. And they took that as a massive threat to their children and other people's children because they saw it as the Muppets were coming to take over and interrupt their religious programming in the spirit of Christmas back then, making their own children questioning their own religious and Christmas beliefs in the process. 18,568,322 children in America, and a whopping 86,063,825 of them in Canada, all of which lost their lives basically for nothing. Before all this happened, the consumption and waste numbers for hams and turkeys respectively were looking like they were stagnating, all the way up to 1997. The acquisition from the Jim Henson Company and Hallmark Entertainment on November 16th, 1998, and the reaction from a day later was the last straw to these parents. All they could have done is change the channel for Christ's sake. They should have embraced the spirit of Christmas with the acquisition, instead of genociding children for the most retarded reason in human history. Number 3, everything you just said before saying number 3
is a literal conspiracy theory that he believes. He believes every single bit of what he just said, and a majority of the content on his channel is geared towards him justifying and explaining how the roast game is real. He is not right in the head. That's why he could never be my... That's another reason, among many, why he could never be my personal nemesis. He's literally schizophrenic.
Anti-vaxxers, faith healers, and other religious people that tend to abandon all of developed medicine and science in the guise of letting the quote-unquote Lord heal their sick children, only for those children to just die like fucking animals, and parents who do this end up going to fucking prison over this. 4. Lack of consistency all around, alongside with a rejection of non-contradiction, and even the concept of atheism existing before they even did. And finally, number 5, what I will make a central point later on in this video when it comes to the hostility towards people who were religious converting to atheism, being disowned by their own families, facing the struggle of living out on their own because they no longer felt like they needed to live a lie just to wear a cross around their necks. Because at this point, it just seemed like Christ never really died on a cross in the eyes of the non-believer, or even in the eyes of the believers who said he sacrificed everything to take away all their sins. But until then, let's make a distinction between atheism and agnosticism. Now, this chapter will be very short. I just want people to understand there is a difference. Atheism concerns what you believe. Agnosticism concerns what you know exists. So, for example, if you're agnostic, instead of claiming that there is no God, you say, I don't have evidence for a God. But is there a God? And if so, what is his name? And if I can know about it. But atheism suggests that there is no God because there is no reasonable conclusion to reach to prove that there is one, let alone the thousands that people have created throughout the history of writing and literature. You can't just conflate them by saying that since you're questioning the existence of God, that an agnostic is somehow atheistic when it's not. People just need to stop being retarded when it comes to the difference between atheism and agnosticism. Get it right. And really, I'm not really asking for all that much. People just stop conflating, stop being dishonest, and quite frankly, since I'm now going to have to devote chapter 8, 9, and 10 when it comes to story time and how I became an atheist, why I became an atheist, the shaming I received from peers after becoming atheist, and now enjoy me shitting on my own Christian childhood. Now, to get shit straight, I'm going to be shitting.
If you are not screaming mentally like horror must have been earlier and is right now, because he just defined what I had to make sure to explain for him. So he's aware of the shit that he's saying, being fucking retarded and dumb, and now he's trying to fit it into the framework and making it seem that he's the smart one, and that you've got it wrong, or that I've got it wrong, chat. We need to bring back mental asylums. Not a truer thing has never been said in chat by fucking Harvey. Lord have mercy. Lord have mercy, do we need mental asylums? I almost forgot to say, got distracted by insanity that you're hearing. How typical this guy just goes up against Christians and no other religion in detail. Because the other religion is a religion of peace, and if you go against that religion, that means you're a bigot homophobe. You're not a bigot homophobe, are you, Buster? Oh! Carl, you can't say that. Yes, I can. I used to be Islamic. The religion of peace, driving the truck of peace with the bullet of peace with the gun of peace. The peaceful gun telling you to subscribe to PewDiePie. That one's a bit darker. That one's a bit too dark for people who weren't there. Christchurch was a horrible situation. Anyways, moving forward.
On my Christian childhood now. When I was a Christian kid growing up in the South, I was a little retard. I believed in God. I believed in Jesus. I went to church predominantly every Sunday morning. I used to attend with my grandparents and my mom. Every Wednesday when I was a kid, there would be this thing known as Life Group, where a bunch of other senior citizens come to have fun, have a discussion, talk about religious stuff, pray, have food, have a ball, have a drink, non-alcoholic of course, and then just go back to wherever they came from and the party's over. Almost every single Wednesday evening.
So, a regular mass plus extracurricular activities? You were a little stupid loser because you believed in God and you went to Sunday school? And then an open speech with snacks and drinks?
Watched VeggieTales. I used to watch kids TV, obviously, because I was a kid, and not just like any ordinary kid, though. And I'll get to that in a little bit. I wasn't questioning, I wasn't skeptical, and even then, I wasn't even aware of the phrase skepticism or even what it meant when I was a kid, hilariously enough. I used to eat really shittily. I used to just eat ramen noodles, mac and cheese, fish sticks, chicken nuggets.
What does your food intake have to do with your religion?
just an awful diet. I was fat as a kid, and I used to quote-unquote sin a lot. And when I went to church on Sunday mornings, before I typically went to the same room and building as my grandparents and mother, I used to go to another building in this church in Somerville called the Faith Assembly of God. There's this other place where they serve coffee, donuts, and even soft drinks, alongside with juices. And then, as soon as it was time to go into the big stadium/auditorium, we used to just be jumping up and down, singing along with the Christian music that was supposed to be uplifting, supposed to be upbeat, and keep people high up in their spirits. I was pretty much shy, and I didn't jump too much. I was kind of timid, and quite frankly, the most impressionable of the bunch. And I'm going to be completely fair and honest, when it comes to Halloween and Christmas parties, it was different to an extent. My siblings enjoyed it. I kind of did when I was a Christian kid. I didn't really care all that much about questioning my beliefs. I didn't really give that much of a shit when I was a kid. It was kind of like a youth group of sorts, where we...
Man, it sounds like kid you would probably be better than you as you are right now. Because, bro, I gotta be surreal. I gotta be so dead ass with you. We're probably gonna watch this one, because this one's an hour and 21 minutes, and my brain's already fucking slipping into my mentality, because this is from his second channel, his secondary channel. Probably gonna skip that one. But, bro, I gotta be so dead ass for you. I am a C. The kind of shit that we had to have when we were kids was probably something more like... Let me see if I can find the really, really good spiritual version. Let's go with Kirk Franklin. What we had in my youth was Kirk Franklin, He Reigns. Okay? This is what we... for Kirk Franklin. And now the fucking Zoomers have this shit. Let's see if they have this in the techno version. Yes, they do.
DJ
I
I am a CHRISTIAN, and I have CHRIL.
There we go.
CHRISTIAN, and I have CHRIST in my HEART, and I will LIVEETERNALY. I am a C. I am a CH. I am a CHRISTIAN.
Bro, how the fuck could you not be able to turn up 2 times for Jesus? Like, let's be that ass. You didn't have much to worry about when you were a child, okay? Not many people did. And you are sitting here acting... I know, I can't put it on screen. You guys are acting like it is impossible for you to accept the idea. If you want the song links, I can put them inside of the stream. I cannot put them on screen. I'm not interested in getting tagged again, and even I'll probably get tagged for having played the music. My point is, you're complaining about shit that nobody should have the right to complain about, Bryan. It's meaningless. It's fucking meaningless, bro. It's meaningless shit. You're just upset for no goddamn reason. I don't understand. But okay, you have to shit on your childhood. I don't know, maybe I'll make you feel better. It's not gonna make you better, but it'll make you feel better. And what matters more than how you feel?
We did pray every once in a while, sing a bunch of uplifting songs like I just mentioned, and after it was all done, we'd go back to the building where my mom and my grandparents were after their service was over, and then as soon as we got done and was ready to go back home, that's what we did. But around 2014, I stopped going to church. I just didn't really feel like I was in the mood or even wanted to go to church anymore, because I was just more likely not feeling like going there anyway, and this was years before I even remotely became an atheist and started questioning my predisposed Christian beliefs. I hit my teenage years, I grow up, I first learned how to masturbate when I was still 14 and months away from turning 15, and it was just at that time when I hit puberty.
Why did we need to know that? Why did I need to know that, Ryan?
And it was right around the time when I first got around to my first actual long-term fictional character crush, known as Sasha LaFleur. And that was up until early 2021, of course, but back on topic. And
Who and where did this character come from that you were sexually interested in? Also, Bryan, every child who isn't fiercely religious to the point of indoctrination, to where they rediscover it again as a functional adult, goes through that phase. You get into it because it's something that you were brought to by your parents, but it's not necessarily something that you believe in wholly yourself. Because you're a kid. You don't have your own fully formed beliefs. Then you hit adolescence, where you can start forming your beliefs. And you know what most kids go through when they go through adolescence? They get to a point where it's like, you know what? I'm involved with this just because my parents want me to be. But I don't want to go down to the sock hop and go suck face with boys and girls. I don't even know what the fuck's happening with me. I just know when I see a woman, I get really giddy and I get really hot in my pants. It's a normal thing everyone goes through. That's not an excuse for you to shit on yourself in the past. You're the kind of person that cults target. You could have easily been recruited into a cult if they had found your ass in time.
And I will cover the rest of the time when I became an atheist, how I became an atheist, and why in a different chapter. But just to sum it up real quickly before I move on to the next, I just want to say that had I not become an atheist at all and started using my critical thinking, I would have been dead by the end of 2017. Thank fucking no God that I've made it past that point, almost 7 years later. I sure as hell did.
Why would you have been dead for not using critical thinking skills? The coup didn't happen until 2019, 2020. What happened in 2017, Ryan?
Not want to freeze my ass and body off in the Tennessee in winter, and that's why moving in with my dad was the best decision I likely have ever made in my life, and no other decision in my life could ever come close in comparison to how much of a life-changing, great decision that was almost 7 years ago. And with
Is it because your father was an atheist and your mother was religious, and somehow you would have frozen yourself to death living in her house? That sounds like a lot of hate you just put on your mama. But he didn't say that, Carl. But he didn't have to. He said, I moved in with my dad. Where's your mom? Why are your parents divorced? These are necessary pieces of information that you don't want to leave out of this context. But hey, he's leaving out the context. But you know what he didn't leave out? The roast game and how much he hates himself.
With that, I'm going to be talking about the shaming and judgment from peers as I was becoming an atheist and was ditching my Christianity, and felt like I had no regrets for doing so. But that doesn't help ease the pain from judgment and all the bullshit I went through. Let's get into that now. And of course, becoming an atheist in 2016 never came without the consequences of being judged and shamed for no longer believing in a God over my head, questioning Jesus, and even the supposed quote-unquote legitimacy of the Holy Bible. When I initially told
Boy, you are a furry boy. Boy, you believe that you will have anamorphic features inside your spirit, boy. Boy, you believe in some shit that cannot be squared on a circle because of how hateful you are when it comes to religious, boy. Boy, because in order to believe that you are a furry, you must have some concept of spirituality, boy. Boy, you can't believe that you are a furry because you don't even believe in the concept of spirituality because you don't believe in spirits, boy. You can't believe in spirits, boy, because you can't believe in things that you can't see. You can't see it, you can't feel it, you can't touch it. You certainly can't stroke the tail you stick up your butt next to the dodo, boy. Boy, every fundamental belief that you have is in itself quite literally an unorthodox form of an oxymoron, boy. Boy, Bryan as the fox can't exist, boy, because you yourself are a fucking atheistic, agnostic, furry, boy. Your entire spirit, boy, everything about you, boy, your religion, boy, your foundations, boy, your feelings, boy, everything can exist from things you just said about yourself, boy. Boy, you are lost, boy. Get your hammer, boy. Lost, bamboozled, in the woods, puzzled, roots amongst the hedge and reeds and the wicks and the summer when Dixieland. Boy, you are more crazy than a bag of Mexican jumping beans, and you are more lost than the corn that is in your bullshit in the maze you got lost in your mind for, boy. Boy, you are helpless, boy.
my grandparents and mother, along with other members of my family, that I'm starting to question my religion and become an atheist. They were so offended at my sudden ability to start critically thinking in my life that I was barred from going on a summer vacation with my grandparents until somewhat later, which was...
And there it is.
I moved in with my dad because my mom and my grandma didn't like that I wasn't religious anymore. They didn't know what a furry was, and they were trapping my true self. I must be true to myself and be an antagonistic furry jackass on the internet for content.
There it is. There it is. There it is. There it is. Dads, beat your kids. Moms, hug this kid tighter. Don't let this be your son! Oh my God, no, please! Make it stop! Lord Almighty.
It was a semi-traumatic experience for me, but back to the point of this chapter. It didn't just happen to me. It's a common phenomenon for people who are just converting it.
No. Your specific experience happened to you. Because remember, you are a agnostic atheist. If you say there is no foundational belief that exists amongst us atheists, and then you say it didn't just happen to me, it happened to many people, you are identifying at least one thing you have in common with the rest of them. And boy, if you are about to tell me indirectly that agnosticism and atheism is when mommy and daddy make fun of you because you say some really off-the-wall dumb shit, that is a religion of losers. A religion of losers that don't believe in anything because they can't believe in anything. Because the moment they say, I have strong opinions about this, you believe that you're going to get bullied when people say, I agree or disagree. And that, my friend, is not a religion. That's not even a belief system. That is a knee-jerk reaction. You were a harassed and harangued child by the demons in your head. And instead of addressing the demons in your head, you listen to their voices. And now you're getting mocked. But not because people just randomly hate you for no reason. It's because you project retarded things over the internet for everyone to hear. And when people criticize you, you, like you were when we first saw your video on my channel, were waiting for the nasty shit to happen. You're more boring than the most boring feminist. At least with the feminists, they have some addressing. They have some understanding. They might even be aware of the hypocrisy. And the fun comes from dismantling it. You are boring because you are so obvious. And so hateful. To yourself alone. Let alone other people. And you think you have the right to tell anybody anything. Crazy!
Into atheism by completely ditching the Christian dogma or whatever other religious dogma they believed in. But in other cases, no longer believing in a god and ditching religion entirely is easier said than done, considering the consequences. Many people who become atheists who were able to inherit property and some financial stability from them are barred from being financially supported, leaving them to inherit all that to other people who are still religious. Some of these atheists had to figure out a way to financially support themselves by getting a job or two and finding themselves somewhere else to live, which was also easier said than done. Others who can't live on their own and those that are just left outside to rot on their own without the ability to financially support themselves, find a home or apartment to live in, and even be able to inherit property from their peers in case if they die later on, often resort to either being homeless and finding somewhere else to live so that one day they will succeed and prosper again, or committing suicide. It is that unfortunate for some of these atheists.
Now, I would say that they don't need to do suicide because, you see, the only reason suicide is an option is because you motherfuckers ain't religious. If you were religious in any kind of doctrine, you would know that the action of suicide is a mortal, cardinal sin, son. And therefore, you are destined to burn in hell. So, assuming that these people want to live, but they just feel like the living death of being rejected. And I'm not saying that being kicked out of your home for having a religion or having no religion isn't traumatic. You have options. You have choices. And even if you didn't have choices amongst family, there are resources that exist, both for men and women, but mostly for women because there are feminists that made it so, that help you get back on your feet. I know, because I worked for them. At some point in my life, I had to receive them myself. Everything you just said probably would be accurate and true if you were made homeless around about 1997 to 2009. Because I didn't start working for the feds until 2 years into high school. I was a part of the graduating class of 2008-2012. So, from then up until 2021, honestly. That would be a concurrent thing for you to be able to say. If it happened any point around about 2009, there's no way that's fucking true. And depending on how old you are, not likely. You're using other people's trauma to set up for the fact that you didn't want to go to fucking church because your mama didn't understand why you no longer believed in Jesus. So you're coping. You're coping and you're lying because you're taking stolen hatred and stolen valor. Because if your parents hated you that much, if your mama, if your grandmama hated you that much, they disowned you, then sure, your dad came in and he saved you. That's cool. That's fine. But I don't believe that's how it happened because I don't believe you. I don't believe you as a reliable narrator to tell me the truth. And if I look into it and I was to receive the truth, I don't even think I'd still care. Because you still act like a little victim every single fucking day of your life, bro. Every day of your life, you're a victim. I don't believe you. I don't believe you.
Yes, because we live in an inherently cold and cruel religious world in this country. And like I mentioned earlier, I would have died at the end of 20...
Bro, if you walk through most of the southern states, most people, as long as you're not trying to sell them something, are more than happy and more than courteous to be nice people and to be courteous people. Granted, we live in a greedy, crazy world, bro, but it's not a capitalist nightmare, okay? I can tell you that much right now. It feels like it could be, but it's not. And for you to say that means that you forgot the definition of Southern hospitality.
2017 had I chose not to move in with my dad. But before I get into how I became an atheist in 2016 and why, I'll have to admit that it's easier remembered than forgotten when it comes to memories of me being physically beaten up and abused for questioning the Bible, and abused throughout the months before I left Tennessee. I know what I wrote about rape was and is wrong.
Abused by who? Other kids? Fight back. Adults in your life? Tell the cops.
And is the reason that I got kicked out of high school in my senior year. That's why I didn't mean them, but I'm sure...
You got kicked out of high school because you wrote about rape. You did not get kicked out of high school because they were an evil, anti-religious group, blah, 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 blah. Shut the fuck up. You're lying.
Shit, that the physical abuse that happened to me wasn't because of the inappropriate rape comments when I was an unself-aware fucktard in high school. Just writing edgy shit for shock value. But with all that...
Because you were the kind of idiot who wanted attention, and you were upset you weren't getting it, and you got treated with the hardest cane you should have gotten, because where were your parents? Unaware of what the fuck was going on with you because you weren't being truthful? Yeah, that's your own fault. That's your own fault. Take responsibility for your own fault. You are the reason why you couldn't graduate high school. You are the reason you didn't graduate from high school. Not the system, not the unfortunate country. You are the reason why you don't have a diploma. That's your fault, Bryan.
Being said, now let's get into it. This is how I became an atheist. It all started with me becoming aware that debate.org existed, and I was really in the mood for...
Here's how I became an atheist. I went on the internet.
debating to try and supposedly prove God's existence. When I hosted a debate as a former Christian against an atheist that beat me fair and square, all because he said that I had the burden of proof and I couldn't back up there was a God at all. In fact, there was and is no...
I'll tell you a secret, Bryan. That's the atheist secret. Prove that God exists. Well, God is in our hearts. No, he's not. I opened up a heart and I dissected it and God wasn't there. Debunked.
God. When I first realized that I lost the debate, initially I felt disappointed and bummed out. It started something in me that my old religious belief system was wrong, and eventually, behind closed doors, I became an atheist before I told my grandparents and...
I went on the internet and lost against a fat edgelord, and I became an atheist because of it. I was shamed and bullied out of my religion. You know what I got to say to that? Ha! 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 Get filtered! 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 Oh God! Can you imagine? Imagine.
Lord Galtanius III, what do you have to say before we burn you on the stake?
Christianity is faking gay! Bro, I can't believe, no way, no, I wasn't ready! It's not supposed to be this easy to make fun of, no! I wasn't ready! How are you this lame? How are you this lame? How are you a textbook example? A textbook example of a kid getting groomed on the internet! No! No! It's not supposed to be this easy! No! Why? again. Are we surprised, chat? Are you shocked? Chat, are you shocked? You're right, Avalon. Avalon, you're right. He is a furry. What did I expect? I expected better than this. From Mr. They were eating the ass of kids because of the Muppets, I expected better. I expected to be, I was told in a vision that atheism was the best and only way possible. That if religion were to be the reason why my mother would reject me from my home, my ancestral home, sent to live with my father in squalor because I refused to say that the God in bird was the word, that I would prove that I expected something deep. I expected something deep and edgy. I did not expect I went on to debate.org and I got beat out by Destiny fans. Bro, come on! Oh! And this is just a 35-minute video and you're not even all the way through it yet, Bolster, and you're already exhausted. Think what I had to go through for the content. It's so painful, chat. Oh, it's so painful. Fucking God. Oh! Again, it's not supposed to be this easy. I'm supposed to have to work harder for this shit, bro.
Parents about it back in 2016. Sure, I wrote a completely retarded book known as The Mullins Truth, which was supposed to be a piss take on me having used to be a religious idiot. I don't actually believe that the earth is flat.
The Mullins Truth? Does that mean that it was your struggle?
I don't actually believe that water and oil mixes very well. They don't. And I certainly don't actually believe any of the retarded bullshit I wrote back in 2016. I was just beginning to be an atheist after all, which all led up to all the physical abuse in 2017. And before all that, I started to conceive a thought back in June of 2017 that there had been this genocide. But my theory was just incomplete up until September of 2017. And then later, I began the debate process. And several years later, it's no longer a theory. It's just called the roast game. But back to the point of this chapter. Why did I become an atheist, you may ask? Because of the initial debate that I lost to an atheist that encouraged me to question myself. And I started watching channels like Science Channel and other stuff that involves atheism as a topic on YouTube. I used to watch Cult of Dusty, which is just known as Dusty Smith now, Repsion, and other non-religious content creators. I also began to watch rants about feminism before.
Literally the alt-right, alt-left pipeline. Oh my God. So not just I got beat online by an atheist, I got beat online by an atheist who sent me down the dumb shit-lived rabbit hole. I literally atheism plus. Literally atheism plus. It's not supposed to be this easy! It's not supposed to be this easy! Ah!
beforehand back in 2014. It was just years in the making without me even realizing it until it dawned on me. And that's when it dawned on me, in 2016. It finally fucking had. God never existed, and it wasn't just some revolutionary breakthrough either. I just peered out of my religious bubble and just gave myself the biggest reality check I ever got when I was in my teenage years. And that's how and why I became an atheist. And in short summary, atheism is just better than religion all around, all together. And now
Atheism is better than religion because I can believe anything I want and I will get mocked. Whereas I have believed religion, I get mocked for the things I believe, and I don't have the fucking temerity or the pride to stand on my toes for and say this is what I believe, even if you say that I'm fucking gay and fake and gay and cringe and bullshit and blah 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 for it.
Here's the rant segment, and then I will conclude this long-form commentary video once and for all. Finally, at long last, I can now put the idea of having to make this video to rest, because it's all over. I'm finally done with this topic, and I can finally move on to evergreen pastures aplenty when it comes to even covering a diverse plethora of other topics that may or may not tangentially reference the roast game at all. But whatever I talk about in the next long-form commentary video.
His conspiracy theory. When he says the roast game, just say it as his conspiracy theory.
Oh, and I know what that is. And at this point, I'll just be making once a month, year-round. For those who don't realize or don't know yet, will have to depend on the topic that most people vote for me to talk about. I'm not just making these decisions to talk about what out of nowhere, since I owe it all to you to decide the future of this evergreen format on my main channel, and even call for ever more ideas for topics so I can make content out of it. Keep this in mind. I do not, have not, and never will make money off of YouTube. Because to be honest, in my opinion, unless you'd want to be a sellout or want to go full-on PG and PC, making money on this platform is just a complete sham and a waste of time. That kind of shit is mainly designed for wastes of space anyway. On this
Okay, so quit. Making money on the internet is a joke. It's a lie. Okay, quit. Stop making videos. Stop making videos entirely.
You are horrible at it. You are bad at it. Your entire process about how you've gone through becoming a content creator is fucking boring. And is probably the worst case for nepotism. Just quit. Do something different. Do something else. Play video games. Might as well. Why talk about topics and subjects when you can just go live every day? Amenities! Why care about anything? Why care about the topics? Why even go through the process? You don't like doing this. So why are you doing it? But you see, I should be saying the opposite. I should be encouraging you. Please make more videos. Please, Bryan Mullins the Fox. Please, Bryan Mullins the Fox. Make more videos. My audience loves the content. We love the content. We love the content. Please make more videos. You can do your part. You don't care. I don't care about you. Let me make money off your back. Don't you worry. I'll make more money for the both of us. You disavow! It's too late. I'm the content creator. I decide. Oh my god. Let us be done with this shit, please.
Said platform, and I'm just somehow not amongst their flock. I'm not amongst their number, never have been, and never will be. Me becoming an atheist, among other things I don't have to mention again, was not the easiest decision that I had ever made. In fact, the opposite is true. It wasn't a matter of whether or not I could still graduate high school and somehow not manage to be able to enroll and go to college. It was a matter of life and death. I wasn't just able to move out and live somewhere else on my own immediately. If I were to have been kicked out of that house in Tennessee before my dad got the chance to pick me up back in 2017 in an alternate timeline. In fact, I had nowhere else to go. Moving in with my dad and being an atheist at all saved my life. Ever since I first moved in with him, I changed as a person, as a content creator, and everything else around
You changed the worst.
me has as well. I would never want to take it all back because that's how thankful I am of being alive now as opposed to the worst case scenario that would have happened near the end of 2017. A good
Okay, so take some of that enthusiasm that you have for life being an atheist, put it into your content creation.
portion of you would envy me if I ever were to say that being an atheist was easy because in an alternate timeline, outside of the alternate timeline that would have bared out for me, my parents wouldn't have given a shit to begin with. A good portion of you would hate me if I ever were to go back on every claim I made, and those at that I have proven to be true anyway for years.
Sweetheart, I hate you for the dumbass things that you say on a regular basis that you believe in, let alone your goddamn conspiracy theory and how pedantic you are as a human being. When you're not being an annoying fucking furry.
Because at that point, I would have been exposed as just an optics cuck who wasn't
You are an optics cuck!
a real atheist and all the other bullshit, when that never was the case. Because ladies
You are an optics cuck! There's no argument about it! You have some of the worst, most even basic yet still safe opinions. Because you became an atheist because you did not like the fact that you were embarrassed on the internet in a live stream debate. You are the most cuckiest optics cuck that has ever opticked the cuck.
and gentlemen, I've been an atheist for nearly 8 years. It's been almost a decade since then. And when it becomes
Okay, I've had different religions for longer than you've had a religion for those 8 years.
a decade since then, by 2026, I will fucking celebrate like there's no tomorrow. I wouldn't
Okay, so then stop apologizing.
have given a shit anywhere near the extent that I do now if I
You
didn't
do give a shit because you're telling us so much you give a shit.
believe or have ever believed in what I said to be the case. Why would I ever lie about my whole story just to garner false sympathy? If
Because your story is boring as fuck. And you need to have some sympathy to make it seem plausible. And you also don't use your own face. So, how much do you really care? You use picture generation of yourself to stand in as your PNG. And even though being on camera does not equivocate to you being more serious, I can't take you serious because knowing what you look like and having heard the shit you say, you sound like somebody who wants something special about them. You need something special about you. Something that makes you different from everybody else. And in your desire to prove how little you care and how least you are to be given a fucks, you show how much fucks you care because you're even speaking. Why even have a rant section if this is what you're going to say is I don't care? Show me how much you don't care by immediately going to black directly after the end of chapter 10 at exactly 30 minutes and 25 seconds. Why even have an outro and finale? Why even have a rant segment if you don't care? Just don't care and don't even elucidate the thought. Don't even let the utterance of the thought leave your lips or your mind lips. But no, that's not good enough. We need to know. You have to tell us how little you care so that we are given a reason to not care. And bro, I don't fucking care. Yes, you do, Carl. No, I actually don't. I personally do not care, but I, as a content creator, need to see it all the way through. We already watched over 95% of this video. What's the last 5%, I'm simply just, not caring my opinions all over the place, the same way you are not caring your opinions all over the place. The difference is that I can say I don't care, and in the next 15 minutes, I don't gotta think about your ass until the next time your content's put in front of my face. You gotta act like you don't care, but you have to keep that fucking facade up for the rest of your natural-born furry butt life. Who's going to care hardest? Who's going to care the least? Who's gonna be the...
If it's all from memory and all was well and ended well to begin with, it wouldn't be something that anyone would cover up. If anything, it would be the opposite. It would be shared forever and ever, even after the day that I die. I became an atheist when I was still underage, when I was still 17 years old, almost, or if not...
Meaning you became an atheist when you didn't even know what the fuck to believe. Meaning your change to atheism is quite literally grooming.
Nearly 8 years later, at the age of 25, I look back at it now and wonder to myself, holy shit, I really made all the best decisions I could because I had no other choice, and that's the end of it. You
didn't make any choices. Being bullied into something to believe is not a choice. It is a knee-jerk reaction. Ah, my hand! You're a fucking idiot. You believe in God.
God doesn't exist.
For now, I would have to conclude this video before I go off on a rant for too long. So, without further ado, let's just go and do that already. In conclusion, that is how religion has always been problematic and why atheism is better.
Religion has always been problematic and atheism is better because my mama didn't like the fact that I became religious and I wasn't religious anymore because I got bullied on the internet because I got groomed into atheism. I used to watch a lot of alt-left content on alt-left pipeline, and then I became a fucking skeptic, and then as a skeptic I decided to say you all are faking gay and cringe, and I believe that they ate kids' butts for Halloween and for Thanksgiving and for Christmas. Atheism is best because it doesn't make me feel bad in the dead of night when I wank off.
Introduced you to this video, I've shown you that atheism came long before religion, even with the atheistic religions. I've shown you that atheism never had a common belief system, just like religion. I've shown you that atheism is not a religion. I've complained about Christian extremism. I've given you examples why religion has always been problematic. I demonstrated and outlined the difference between atheism and agnosticism. Then I just shot out my Christian childhood, told you my story when it comes to converting into an atheist, the shaming from my peers, and how and why I became one to begin with. And then I went off on a passionate rant, finished that one off, and here we are at the conclusion of this video. Thank you all for watching. I have been your host, Bryan Mullins the Fox, signing out. See you in the next video where I talk about how you should properly raise your children. See you then. So long and farewell.
What a video that's gonna be when we get into it, huh, boys? Oh. And then you molest our ears again with that loud-ass fucking trumpet. When I was in college, I chose to avoid too much philosophy because I didn't know what I believed at the time, and I knew that I could easily be radicalized if I wasn't careful. Most people are too dumb to figure that out. I would say that's true. I would say that's true. It's those moments where I look at my life and I say, boy, I could have been much worse, but at least I'm not him. Life is good, and it can be even better.